This week I've been away on a work trip. When I arrived home, I noticed a lone ant walking across my kitchen floor. I knew that instant that this ant was from our collection, since this was a meat ant, and I know the closest wild meat ant colony is about 1 kilometer from my house. Only moments later, I saw a second ant running on the dining table. Oh no! I then realized the ant room is on the opposite end of my house. AK Colony, our ants have escaped. In this week's episode, we discover what went wrong and scramble to save as many ants as possible. Let me bring you up to speed with what has happened so far. But first, welcome to another episode of The Ant Keeper, where I upload every week about all things ants related. If you find yourself enjoying this video, then subscribe and join the AK Colony. Your support really helps me out and I really appreciate it. The last couple of months, I've been having a bad run with ant keeping. First, we had an ant invasion of thousands of wild ants attacking our collection. Then we had a MITE epidemic, and now one of our biggest colonies has escaped and are exploring different parts of my home. I left my home early Monday morning and arrived from my work trip late Thursday afternoon. Judging from the couple of ants I have found so far, I was sure the entire colony of meat ants has escaped, hidden inside my home somewhere. I immediately ran to the ant room to see what had happened to the meat ant nest. Would there even be any ants left? What would I do if I couldn't find the queen? The nest was mostly intact, with what looked like 80% of the workers still inside. What a relief. You have no idea how reassuring this was to find. Although, as soon as the workers had seen me get up close to check on them, they started swarming out of this small gap that they had escaped from. I quickly grabbed a spare plastic box, disconnected the test tube from the outworld, and placed them both inside this box, securing the majority of the colony under the lid of this temporary home. Luckily, the queen is still inside the nest. It seems the colony had only just discovered the small gap in their outworld and begun exploration outside of their home, perhaps only hours ago. Or maybe the colony had already found the gap in the last couple of days, but had everything they needed in their nest, so they didn't want to move out. What do you think? Either way, we are extremely lucky. It's time to locate as many of the workers as possible and go on the hunt. I'm going to use a piece of cotton to gently pick up the workers and put them into this container as a means of transport. I'll know that since the ants are aggressive, they'll readily bite the cotton, which will make it easy to gather them. I have applied Fluon around the edge to stop the ants from climbing up the walls, and have a lid for extra good measure. Meat ants don't sting, rather they bite aggressively with their mandibles. If there is a group of them, they will act as a singular unit and cripple anything that comes near them. Whilst moving the nest into the temporary box, I was bitten once, but it didn't leave a mark. That being said, I like to avoid getting bitten wherever possible. It doesn't hurt, but it certainly doesn't tickle. I found 3 workers in the ant room and 3 more throughout my house. All of them were casually roaming on the floor, either looking for food or maybe a new home to move into. I spent around an hour looking for more ants, but these were the only girls I could find. Now it's time to organise their new home, or at least a temporary one for now. I think sometime soon I'll either buy a new nest and outworld, or make one. What do you think would be the best setup? I'm thinking of making this temporary home a tubs and tubes setup for now. Or for a future setup, we could simply connect an acrylic or white-tongue nest. Or we could move them into a naturalistic vivarium. What would you prefer? Let me know in the comment section below. I've chosen to use a completely new container to move this colony into, so we can get it set up properly. First, I'm going to apply a good layer of Fluon around the top edge of the tubs and tube setup. This makes it impossible for the worker ants to escape, since they can't climb vertical surfaces that are covered in Fluon. Once that has dried, I place a thin layer of sand, followed by 2 test tubes next to each other. These test tubes will act as their new home for now, which I'll cover in sand in a moment. Lastly, I'm putting a third smaller test tube for the water source and a plastic bottle lid as a dish for the honey. I'll then pour the sand over the test tubes, making them nice and dark, perfect for the queen and brood to hide in. It's a simple but practical home. This fulfills all the basic needs this colony requires. The tricky part now is to move the colony from their current outworld to the new temporary home. Ugh. I'm expecting this to go fairly okay. Hopefully I can do this without losing any workers and stressing the queen ant too much, and without getting tickled too much. This colony is actually one of the last with so many mites. I'm actually really excited to be moving this colony. I expect to have some mites hitch a ride with the workers or even get attached to the cotton, but I'm confident that at least 90% of the mites will be left behind, significantly fast-tracking the mite treatment we've been working on. If you haven't watched my last 2 previous videos about mites, check them out now. I'll leave the links in the video description below. Once the workers have moved out, I'll put them aside to settle down for a few minutes. I'm really interested to see how and where the ants escaped from. I really don't need more ants escaping. I need to know how this outworld failed, since I have another one of these in use for a small colony of bull ants. If they escaped, I'd be gutted and terrified. A sting from one of those girls can kill. Let's inspect this outworld together and see. Initially, it just looks dirty and mite-ridden. Although soon after, I can see the lid of this outworld has been warped slightly, making the lid sit outside the channel as it slides open and closed. I do remember about 6 months ago, I had this outworld under a light for recording, and after I had finished, I noticed the outworld had softened marginally. The lights I used for recording produced a little heat, but nothing crazy. It's possible that the heat from the lights that long ago could have affected the integrity of the outworld, leading to one day pop open a small enough hole for the ants to escape. It's a pretty unfortunate series of events if that's the case. I'm willing to give this outworld the benefit of the doubt, although I'm going to replace the same outworld that's been used for another colony very soon and monitor the bull ants closely until then. I don't want to have another colony escape again if I can help it, although it seems to be fairly commonplace for ant keepers with multiple colonies from time to time, or at least that's what I keep telling myself to make me feel better. Meat ants, or Iridomyrmex purpureus, are famous for their aggressive behaviour and ability to strip meat off carcasses in days. The legend goes that cattle farmers in the outback would drag dead cows onto a meat ant nest, which would then consume the cows to just bones. Now this colony has begun to settle into the new home. It's time to feed them some protein. These species of ants can grow to monstrous sizes, with hundreds of thousands of ants. It's not hard to see where the idea of them consuming an animal as big as a cow came from. If one thing is for sure, it's that these are truly amazing ants to watch with their deep red and purple tones and aggressive behaviour. If you made it this far, then make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. It really helps me out. Also, have you subscribed and become part of the AK colony? If you haven't, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe and be a part of one of the fastest growing colonies here on YouTube. What should we move this colony into? Have your say in the comment section below. Thank you everyone for watching this week's episode. I will see you on the next video. Until then, Ant Keepers Unite.